All right, so now those servers have been restored from backup, so this one's working. So what you do is I have a file. All right, let me open it up here. Take me a minute to trick this thing into opening with an unapproved application of Smoltron. All applications, okay. There we go. There it is. All right, this is what I wanted to have. You can give it any image file extension. Now it's exploit.png, and here's what's in there. And so when I upload this image and process it, here, I choose File, and it's called exploit.png. Here, open, and when I upload it, it executes this command, and then it prints out hello and the date. And if you look at the image file, this is what happened. Remember the ping command where you could put an IP address and then a semicolon, and then you could put a command line? This one here is the same principle. What's going on is the people that wrote this image processing library decided to allow you to put some text in here to add some colors to the image. So you can create something like the size of a view box, and then you can fill it with a color. And then for some reason, they decided to let you change the color by loading a color from a web page. And they implemented it by using this fill URL thing. And they implemented that by doing it at the command line, a curl with this domain name. So anyway, they used this and put it in a command line. And if you put the right punctuation marks around it, which are a little different, then you can put a command like echo hello, which will print hello on the screen, semicolon, and date, which will print a date on the screen. So now you can execute arbitrary commands by just putting them right here. So if I can do a date, I could do a who am I, and then an ls. That'll tell me what my privileges are and list all the files and folders in the current working directory. So I'll put that in this and resave this image, and then upload it again. And so now I get a hello, now I get a date, now I get who am I, and now I get an ls listing files. And if I view this in source, it'll even be formatted like it would be from the Linux command line. So there you are. I have the date. This is who I am. I'm www.data, which is a low-privilege Unix user. That is the user account that the Apache server runs under. Normally when you do a web exploit, that's what you'll find. You end up getting the privileges of the web server. And now here are some files. Don't look here.exe, don't run me.jpg, encode, imphp. And so these files contain data that you can use to find flags. And you can execute commands to like print them out and so on. So this is another form of command injection vulnerability. And there is a third one, which should also be restored and working now, which is Drupal. Drupal is a competitor for WordPress, and it is fantastically vulnerable. There have been 3 earth-shaking exploits in a row called Drupalgeddon, Drupalgeddon 2, and Drupalgeddon 3 that were serious command injection vulnerabilities. I think this is the first Drupalgeddon. But anyway, so the website is here, and like all of my very vulnerable web pages, it's subject to a lot of automated attacks. So I put it behind a username and password of just student1, which is not enough to stop intelligent attackers, but it's enough to stop automated attacks. So I have a Drupal server with no actual content, but it has this vulnerability, and you can exploit it. And for this, you will need a machine that can run Python, which you can do easily on Linux. You can also install it on Windows, but for this, it's easiest if you have a Mac or a Linux machine. So here's the Drupal script to see the vulnerability, and I can run it directly in a Mac. Macs have Python 3 by default, which is fine. So I'm waiting. Here's my command line. Okay, good. So I'll go into downloads and make a directory, WASTC, and go into there. There's, okay, now I can nano drew.py and put in that code. All right, and first I'm going to just run it and then see if it works. So I do python 3drew.py. All right, this runs the attack against my server, and now it says it's done. And what it did is it should have created a file here called yourname.txt. So if it worked, it will have created this file and put a smiley face in it. So let's see. I put that in a browser, and there it is, a smiley face. So it's the same kind of vulnerability, and to understand how it works, you have to look at that script. All right, what's going on here is this makes a web request, and the vulnerability is something in the account registration. Somewhere where you register an account and you have user register form, something like the email address has a vulnerability, and you are able to execute commands. And here's the command it executed: echo smiley face pipe t yourname.txt. You can't insert a greater than sign. This is very common that when you have command injections, certain characters don't make it. So you have to use pipe t instead of a greater than sign to redirect the output of a command into a file. But this will write to that file. So now you can execute any command you want by adding it here with a semicolon at the end of this or something, and you can put it, the output, in any file name you want, but you can't reuse a file name. Once you've created it, you can't edit it, so you're going to have to keep changing this file name. So if I wanted to do an ls, for example, I would change this echo, this stuff, into ls. Oh, so I can't do it with the mouse here in Nano. It's a keyboard-only editor. So I'm going to get rid of the echo stuff, and I'm going to use ls. Now I can do an ls, but the next thing is I can't reuse the file name, so I have to change this name. I'll make it yourname1, and you have to change it 3 places. Not all of these are strictly necessary, but to keep yourself organized, there it is in 3 places. So if I run this, it should create another file called yourname1 that has the list of files, the ls list. Control X, Y, enter. Now I run that with python 3drew. Tells me to go to yourname1. So I go here and put in the 1. And now I get a list of files. So again, you can now execute commands on the server, and you can find things. And so there's a series of flags to find, a couple flags to find on that server, and several flags to find on the other server. So that's gives you some practice in command injection, and you do have to be fairly good at using the Linux command line to do this, so you understand what you're injecting. So if you aren't familiar with that, you should do the Linux journey first. I'm going to stop this video.